Hey everybody, welcome back to Days Well Spent. So we're in the first week of August here. As you can see, the garden is in pretty bad shape. Up until mid-July, it was doing pretty good. I actually got a good tomato harvest in the middle of July. I got about a gallon of tomatoes, I guess. And then I just couldn't keep up with the garden. I just couldn't keep things alive. We're going on 3 months now of temperatures over 100 degrees. We actually got 117 one day last month. And you just can't water for that. I could easily drain one of our 50-gallon rain barrels in a row, just one row, and then the next day drain another one in another row. We've got 4 good-sized rows here, and then rotate through again and wipe out our 300 gallons in a matter of 6 days, 1 week, which for the most part is what happened. So even our rain barrels are almost completely empty. So I just let it go. There was no way to keep it alive. I have managed to keep like our peppers alive. But they're not growing because it's too hot even for the peppers to grow. We got more peppers over here. There's a couple more. We moved one of our Vigo raised beds to a different part of the yard. The tomatoes that were in it suffered the same fate. I couldn't keep them alive, and we just burned up all of our water supply. At some point, there's just not enough water. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to make it. Even with the sunshade, it didn't make it. So we went ahead and moved this over here. We're going to do winter crops in it, carrots and some lettuces. But as you can see, there are some tomatoes on here, some San Mauricio Roma tomatoes. I'm just kind of waiting to let those ripen, pick what I can. I stopped watering, obviously. I just ran out of water. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Years like this is when you just don't want a garden. Even with the sunshade, it didn't keep it alive. Our bees are struggling. This is our new hive. It's doing pretty good. There's some dead bees down there. I was in the hive yesterday doing a hive check. They're not even growing. They're not drawing comb, because there's no resources for them. Literally, there's no pollen, there's no nectar. If you drive through the neighborhood, nobody's flower beds like we usually see every year are blooming. There are no flower beds. All the yards are they look like hay, because people just can't water enough to keep even flowers going for the most part. So the bees aren't even growing. So I'm kind of worried about the new hive until the temperatures come down and we start getting some fall blooms. They're not gonna even grow. They may not even make it. I wanted to get a second brood box on there, but to get them through the winter. But I don't see that happening right now unless something happens in the fall where we get like another honey flow, so that they can grow enough and stockpile enough honey to get themselves through the winter. Our blackberries I can't even keep them alive. I put the water sprinkler on real low and watered them for hours, deep watering, and you can see they're still curling up. It's just the scorch is burning the leaves. So the best I'm trying to do now is just keep the roots alive, so that when it does cool down and maybe next year comes back, I'll still have the root system intact for the blackberries. Now this is interesting though. Is this tomato here, it's a cherry tomato. It's not producing, it's simply too hot to produce, but it's thriving, and it's in one of our container gardens, or container planting, and I don't have to water it that much. I water it regularly, but it seems to have done a lot better in this heat than the rest of the garden that's in the ground and under the shade cloth. And this tomato's not even under a shade cloth. So we're going to keep walking around. That's one of our lemon trees. Get over here to the bees over here. This is our main hive. I was in it yesterday as well, and I finally took the honey super off because they've done nothing with it. Whoa, getting a little close to me there. And they haven't even grown the few frames that are left inside to, there's Razumdar. They haven't even grown the few frames inside that were empty. They haven't drawn the comb out. I even took the frames out, waxed them to make sure that, you know, they had a foundation that they would grow from, and they're still not even growing it. Just, again, there's just no resources for it. Now coming over here, now here's container pots. Oh. All right, sorry about that. Had a bee coming at me. Didn't like me. So coming over here, this is our worm bin that we did last month. Pretty happy with it. Worms have been doing real good. You can see them in here. There's worms right there. They're all over the place, writhing around. Look at that. There's probably 15, 20 of them right there. Yeah, probably about 10 of them. But really, anywhere you dig in here, you can just turn up worms. See? You see them writhing right there. There's another one. So the worms are doing great. Look at that. There's another one. They're just doing great. So I'm happy about the worm bin. It's been a good way to compost. Just a different way. Can't wait till we can make like some worm compost tea and stuff like that. Our potted plants are doing real good. All the potted plants are doing real good. It's been easier to keep up with them. These are jalapenos here. They've actually been producing. You see our limes producing here. We got some chili pequin, jalapeno, and habanero back there. And there's another tomato in one of our big containers. And it's doing well too. So something to say about container pots. Yeah, coming up here to our new herb area with the Vigo garden raised beds. The herbs are doing real good. So we got some mint there, some lemongrass. Margaret had decided to do container potting with herbs, and I think it was a good idea. It's worked out well. That's purple leaf basil. We got marjoram, thyme. Our basil's doing phenomenal. We got so much we can't even eat it. And we got some container plants from Lowe's that were marked down because they were dying. More basil, marjoram, thyme. So everything's doing real good here. But our ivies, our ivies are dead for the most part. I'm just trying to keep the root system alive so that when it gets cooler, at least the roots will come and we can have our ivies back. Now we did end up having to get a cover. As you can see, we got a Academy cover, $50, and covered the herbs, and it really made a huge difference on keeping those alive. All right, sorry about that. Battery died on my camera, so we're having some issues this morning, bees and batteries. But anyway, the containers are doing real good. We're real happy with those. But I kind of made a decision on, I wanted to try something different. This year brought about a reality of, who knows, maybe what the future is going to bring of, you know, climate change, hotter temperatures. It's going to make agriculture far more difficult, and even the home gardening is going to make more difficult. I mean, we've got almost 500 gallons of water between our water barrel systems around the house, and we can't keep enough water in them. I mean, you drain them, but they're not being replenished because there's no rain. And at 100 degrees outside, I can't keep the plants alive. So I started something about 3 weeks ago, a little bit different that we're going to try. Margaret's been playing around with it for a while. So this is what Margaret's been playing with for a couple months. I'm pretty sure. She had done a review on this little hydroponic system. It's a fully functioning system. In other words, it controls the amount of light. Like it's off right now, it'll bring it on automatically. It controls bubbling the water, and basically all you do is you take your pod and you put a seed in it, and well, there's a little root, and let it grow and let it do its thing. It's been real successful. Like these plants here are about, I don't know, a month old is all. Microgreens. It's pretty cool. The hydroponic, it works. It's not going to produce a lot. The little pods are pretty small, so you're reduced to the size of greens. But it's been a really effective system. So I decided that I was going to take up some hydroponics and try to make it work. We're going to obviously utilize the greenhouse in the winter because we can keep it warm in there, and we've already started seedlings for the winter. But summertime, it's pretty tough, and I think I can save water by doing hydroponics. Now, I did have to spend a little bit of money. I've got a spreadsheet that I'm working on with receipts. Maybe we'll bring that out later. But basically, we started some seeds. Well, there's some there. Those are Anaheim peppers right there. They need to actually come out and get into the hydroponic system. And then here's a pump. It's an aerator. The little system I just showed you with the plants in it is a deep water culture hydroponic system. That means the water is just bubbled, and the roots go down into the water. There's different methods. There's a Kratsky method, which I've actually got a couple plants going in a Kratsky method. Let me pull one out here. Here's a Kratsky plant. So there's just water in there. There's no bubbler. The water stays a little bit below the root line to give you the oxygen that it needs also. I started some other plants, some tomato plants like this in the Kratsky method, and yesterday I moved them outside because I've got a deep water culture system set up out there in the greenhouse. These are other seedlings that I got started and transplanted them into this root, I guess, stimulator system. We've got ruby red, Swiss chard, some cherry chadwicks, porter tomatoes, bib lettuce, and then some bok choy here. Basically all it is a pump brings up water, or brings up air. There are aerators in there. There you go. You can see it bubbling in there, and that provides air to the water. We keep these covered so that the water doesn't grow algae. When these get a good root system on them, they'll come out. And I haven't built the next phase of the, there you go, of the deep water culture yet, because I've still got probably a couple weeks of them being in here, but I'll show you when I do it. Then they'll get transplanted in their final resting home with air bubblers, and we'll do this inside. What this will do for us is our winters usually are not long enough here to be able to grow all winter long. So we're very limited on the crops outside in the ground that we can do winter-wise. Now it looks like we're limited on the crops we can do in the summer. We keep getting summers like this. So this moves some of our greens inside so we can farm all year round using hydroponics. So it's something we're playing with. I'm not a great hydroponic expert or anything, but I think the climate has pushed for some other options for growing for us. Okay, so we're out in the greenhouse now. I wanted to show you the tomatoes that we started in a deep water culture. These were actually started inside with the Kratsky method, and we just put them in actually these were started using deep water culture inside, and I put the bubblers inside of a mason jar. I did 2 of them with a mason jar with bubblers. I did 1 of them with the Kratsky without a mason jar, and they grew pretty much equal. But then I moved them out here yesterday. They struggled a little bit in the afternoon because it does get pretty hot in the greenhouse, but they look pretty strong today again, so I'm real happy with that. We've got these wicks that we made out of twine. That's how we started the seeds. We actually ruffled out the end, put the seed inside the twine, put the net cup inside of a mason jar, and let it wick up to the seed, and they grew just fine. These are from the plants I showed you earlier out in the garden, the San Mauricio tomatoes that I harvested, I guess, probably about 2 months ago. kept the seeds, dried them, and these are from, you know, our tomatoes back there. So if you come in here, this is deep water culture now. You can see these are the bubblers, the air pipes for the bubblers. Go in here, you can see the bubbles coming up. Oh, there's some good roots right there too. And that's what will happen. Now these are fed. It's not just water. They have to be fed a nutrient supplement. Here's, oh yeah, look at that. Nice roots on there. So that's something that we're going to start working with, is the supplements that we use. Here's, oh, that one looks real good too. Because right now, I don't know a lot about it. This is my first time ever doing this, but I wanted to do it on a larger scale than the little hydroponic system that Margaret has shown in previous videos, so that we can have garden a longer period of time in a year, both winter and summer. The other thing is I've got 6 of these 5-gallon buckets, so that's 30 gallons of water. That's less than I would put in an entire row, and they're not going to go down as fast. So at least water usage wise, I can fill these up and continue to feed nutrients into the water and top them off to where, you know, the level needs to be, and save water doing this. That 500 or so gallons, I think we have 450, will go a lot further once they get filled back up doing hydroponics, and they will dump it into the rows of the garden just to be sucked up by the intense heat. So we'll keep you more up to date as I do this, and see where it goes, see how successful we are with it. All right, so that was it. Early August garden update. That's where we're at. That's where we're going with it. Like I said, everything's dead, even the beans. Couldn't keep beans alive, the pole beans. Sunflowers did good. That's about all that did good. I mean, we got a good crop. We did good on tomatoes and stuff, but it just won't last. So I hope the video was informative, so you can see kind of where we're at and the struggles we're dealing with this year in the garden here in North Texas, with almost 3 months of 100+ degrees. Some of the direction that we might be going with the channel, with the hydroponics. I do have a design already set up for maybe a nutrient film technique, hydroponics, but I'm going to try the deep water culture first, because it's just a lot easier, with a bubbler, of course. That helps give you your oxygen to water ratio, and we'll keep you updated on that and how it goes. Just something to look forward to. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, and be sure and visit our website at dayswellspent.com.